let's get on right into TWIG. Welcome to TWIG, your weekly, geekly, family-friendly news show that tackles everything from 7-Eleven to Crunchyroll comment sections with some games in between. If you're listening on the podcast version of the show, be sure to give us a good review. Click that like if you're over on YouTube, or come and listen live on twitch.tv/checkpointchurch every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, except we are about to go on hiatus, but maybe I'll mention a little bit more about that next Tuesday night for the sort of season finale before the hiatus switches over. Folks, we're going to start this show, as we always do, with our What Have You Been Watching, Playing, and Reading over the past weekend. And I'm going to let our special guest start tonight with what have they been watching, playing, and reading. I'm going to encourage you to also respond in the chat.
Yeah, I've been watching Hell on Wheels on what I think it's on Prime. I'm in season 2, near the end of season 2, possibly season 3. I don't know. It's crazy. And also I'm a Yankees fan, and I've been watching the disappointing failure that is the Yankees. I've been playing Hellblade 2. I think, right before the final giant. And I've been reading the third book in the Mistborn trilogy, and as well as a book called The Virtual Body of Christ in a Suffering World. So that's what I've been doing.
And who are you?
Oh, yeah. I'm Shane. I'm Pastor Shane. I'm Shane Russo, Go Be Churched, artist formerly known as Stained Glass Rebel. I am a digital church planter like yourself here in the East Ohio Conference of the United Methodist Church. And yeah, so that's who I am.
Very nice. Well, I have been watching, reading, and playing lots of things as I got back from the beach. I went away for the 4th and had lots of time to read. I actually didn't end up playing much of anything or watching much of anything because I was in deep to House of Leaves. I read the entirety. It is 700 plus pages, and I could not put it down. I cannot think of a book that I've been quite so addicted to as I was this one. I could talk about it for the next hour. I think it is currently sitting at the top of maybe my favorite books of all time. I so enjoy it. It was more like a video game than anything else, to be honest, and just absolutely hooked on it. So I wound up binging that over the course of 4 days, which is pretty intense for a book of that size, and especially of its caliber. For those of you that aren't familiar, it is an ergodic type book. So it sort of has like things within things that you have to read. It is a book that almost makes itself out to be kind of like a puzzle, and very self-referential within its own self. So good stuff. Great book. Highly recommend it. It was all that I could think about. I'm also reading our book for book club, The Not So Secret Society of Very Irregular Witches, I think is the full title. We keep picking all of these book titles that are so long, and I can't remember any of them. I've been playing our game for our video game club, Button Bash Brigade Tavern Talk, and I've also been playing through Bastion, which is the predecessor to Hades. And then I have been watching, I cannot pronounce it, but it is the Chiafuru, maybe? The anime that we are watching for our anime club over in the Discord as well. It's really the only one that I've had time to get into. So that's kind of what I have been getting into. Like I said, mostly has been reading House of Leaves, which if anybody wants to read House of Leaves with me, I will read it again. I will go through those 700 pages all over again because they were just simply so good. Teeny Christina P is watching Sword Season 1, which is Smosh's first D&D campaign. Wizen Lemur is reading Heir of Fire by Sarah J. Maas and Redwall by Brian Jacques, playing MLB The Show in Moonstone Island and Dreamlight Valley. 2 farming sims at once is next level, Wizen Lemur. That is next level. Aaron Demon has been watching, playing, and reading the same thing, mainly due to the nature of visual novels. Finished Witch on the Holy Night and wanted to finish before beginning Tsukihime. Very nice. Sugar Haiku started watching the same anime that I have, and also some random YouTubes. Been playing Tavern Talk with the Button Bash Brigade, and also Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, and reading Regular Witches with our book club, and a random manga that you can't remember the title of at the moment. Very cool. So do let us know if you want Aaron Demon. The anime that we're watching right now is the first one that Sugar Haiku names there, Chiafuru, which again, not sure on pronunciation there, but it is what it is. Doing the best that I can. Good stuff. And playing all the Assassin's Creed game at the same time, says Teeny Christina. So that's quite a few to get through at once, I'm sure. Lots of fetch quests and things like that.
All right, Crunchyroll. Crunchyroll has removed its comment and review sections across all platforms to create a safer and more respectful community environment. This decision aims to reduce harmful content, prevent misinformation, and improve user experience. Fans are upset, believe that better moderation would have been preferable. The change follows a recent homophobic review bomb of Twilight Out of Focus. Users mourn the loss of community interaction and reliable feedback on new shows. Despite the removal, Crunchyroll encourages fans to connect on social media and will retain its user rating systems.
Yeah, this one is interesting. I will say I have been on Crunchyroll for many years and I have never scrolled down and looked at the comments. I've never left a comment. I don't think I've ever thumbs upped or thumbs downed a show ever. I don't really like go to Crunchyroll for this. Like I can't imagine going to Netflix and being able to see everyone's thoughts about whatever thing I'm watching. It just feels like a different platform that it's trying to transform into instead of being kind of another YouTube. Like I feel like Crunchyroll of an era was very much about the fans and for the fans, but now it's sort of become like where they're trying to buy all of the anime. And so they're just trying to do all of the things that any serious production company would do or distribution company would do. So I see no problem with this. I do think that it's always hard to have something and then have it taken away from you. But it sounds like they've had their hands full and they were like, we don't even need this, so let's just take it away. Hopefully it'll allow for them to focus on more things that will improve the way the site operates and all of those sorts of things. Sometimes there's been some like pushback on their use of AI, things like that people are upset that they're not able to weigh in with, but just go to Twitter like everybody else did and complain about things that you want to complain about, because that's honestly a place where you're gonna get more attention than the Crunchyroll comment section. I just can't imagine that they were actually really reading that much. So all it was doing was probably causing harm. I'm seeing similar thoughts there in the chat. Any thoughts from you on this one, Shane?
Yeah, I think I agree with everything you said. My only thing is they had it, as you said, having something and then having it taken away. I think here, I don't necessarily think it's the wrong decision, but I always will have a little bit of a kickback on everybody losing the ability to do something because some people suck at it. And that's especially true. I think that's probably more true in speech than other areas, because like I'm okay with not having guns, for example, because some people suck at having guns. But when it comes to things like speech, I think I don't know a better answer than this for them, because you're right. There are other platforms where you can go and do this and it's their thing, right? I don't necessarily know that they needed that ever, but I think there is something to say about an inability to moderate your community. And so when the reaction is, well, now nobody gets to play, I always think that's like the last resort. And maybe it really was for them. Maybe they thought of other possibilities and they just decided, it's just easier to scrap it and that's fine. Like, again, I'm not even invested in Crunchyroll. Like I don't care that much, but just the general sense of it is, I guess if you're on the internet and you are allowing comments, you had to have had the foresight that something like this would eventually happen, right? And so to not have some kind of contingency plan in place, I know like Checkpoint, you've been at the forefront of worrying about community moderation from the start. It's been like you've always known that there are the possibility of these things, and so so a company like Crunchyroll to not have that kind of foresight kind of just baffles my mind.
Yeah, I think I'm trying to think of parallels and like where else would this actually matter? Like I feel like YouTube getting rid of the comment section, that would be astronomically impactful to that platform. When I think about YouTube, I think about YouTube comments. When I think about Crunchyroll, my mind doesn't go to Crunchyroll comments. It's not what it's there for. Whereas YouTube is about community and creators. Like I think it would be a different story if there were independent anime creators on there. Like if it was a form of like Sugar just said, social media, if it was a form where people were contributing in any meaningful way. Whereas I just don't think Crunchyroll actually is that thing. So if anything, I think it's more living into what the platform actually needs to be and what it doesn't need to be. If anything, I do think it's surprising the Reading Here didn't really mention it, but they also took it away from their news articles. So now Crunchyroll News also does not have a comment section. And that seems more controversial to me than taking away the comments from the episodes. Is like people also can't weigh in on the news and talk about that. That would be more impactful. But even still, how much Crunchyroll news am I actually reading? Probably not too much. Maybe it's somebody's source, but it's definitely not mine. So yeah.
And that's wild when I think about if they took it away from the news. I every time I see a site that allows comments, I always cringe because I think that we've gotten to a place where we're writing news for comments rather than writing news for the sake of actually informing or, you know, and I see this like in my location, one of our local news stations will put out a headline and like maybe one sentence and it'll say more news to come. Like they didn't actually care about giving news. They just wanted people's attention. And that's where we are. And I mean, you know, so I could be all get off my lawn about it, but I would think I'd rather not have comments on the news sections than on the video ones.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see if they walk this back. I hope they don't, because I think it makes a lot of sense. I know they're getting some kickback, but I think this is a good change and a change that needs to stay. And I think that it actually leads pretty directly into our next one, which kind of connects to it in some important ways on the other side of the fence. So Nexon's new free-to-play co-op looter shooter, The First Descendant, is facing severe player toxicity just a week after its June 30th launch. Inappropriate comments and hack advertisements have plagued the chat, prompting Nexon to investigate. Players describe the chat as a cesspool, making it difficult to find groups. Alongside these issues, the game is also suffering from performance problems on the PS5, crashes, delays, and delivering promising rewards. Despite these setbacks, the game has seen a peak of 239,513 concurrent players on Steam. Nexon is working on hotfixes and addressing player complaints, but has yet to tackle its aggressive monetization practices. Not surprised, even a little bit. Like, this is exactly why I'm thankful that Crunchyroll took it away, is because I just think that comment sections are just rife for negativity and toxicity and people to... it's not even trolling anymore, really. It's just cruelty. And I'm sure that I can imagine the inappropriate comments that were just being riddled throughout this comment section. So I'm not surprised. And if anything, it just makes me more and more thankful for Nintendo that continues to make games where it's like, you have 4 options and these are the 4 things you can say to your teammates because we don't want you talking to anyone ever. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I said when I see things like this, it takes me back to the early days of World of Warcraft for me, because you know there was a zone in that game called the Barrens, and Barrens chat was notorious for being just the most toxic place ever, and it was. And so as I was reading this, I was thinking to myself, I mean, I get it. It's terrible. I do think, like, I mean, we're talking 20 years ago when that was happening, 15, 20, and I think I'd be interested to see how a newer generation deals with that kind of toxicity. Well, clearly, this is how they deal with that kind of toxicity. They give it backlash, and you're like, we're not putting up with this nonsense, you know? So I'm not surprised either. Comment sections, group chats in video games can be, the pug is the worst, right? It is, the pug life is the worst life in online video games. Those kinds of games are best when you have a dedicated friend group to play with, because then you know what you're getting.
Absolutely. Wholeheartedly agree. It is the reason that Discord really came into being, is to help friends get together to hang out with each other so they didn't have to deal with these chats and they could still hang out with each other. So yeah, I think all around a good thing. It's just, if anything, between these two instances of people behaving badly, I don't know if it's just because I'm already tuned in to so much of the negativity in the marketplace because it's been election year, or if I'm just on the bad side of the internet or something. I don't know what the deal is, but I'm real disappointed in people recently. And like, there's this whole controversy. I didn't include it going in this news because it's just so fresh and new and really not something that we would talk about. But there's also this controversy going on with a Twitch streamer called Sketch, who has these allegations being thrown around for something that is totally not worthy of the name allegations, in a world where Dr. Disrespect is being canceled rightfully, right? Like we have this strange, I don't even know how to describe it, an endemic really of toxicity on the internet. And it just feels like we're so divided with vitriol. And so these are two instances that just make me even more sad and more I feel more vital as Checkpoint Churches in this space because we're trying our best to model a form of do-goodery and to stop doing harm in these spaces and to encourage positive gaming. It makes me thankful for people like Susie and God Squad and the myriad of Christian streamers that we do have out there that are at least trying to embody to people that are not my gaming variety, right? Like I'm not going to pick up the looter shooter, but there are people out there that are playing looter shooters that are trying to embody the same ethos that I'm trying to embody. And I'm thankful that these things exist for that. But yeah. Yep. And I know there's lots to go into and lots that we could talk about, and I don't want to drag it down with the things that are just everywhere right now, but it just made me think of it, that these are like two instances of toxicity that are making me sad for gamers, and I hope that we can figure a way towards a better place. And as Sugar Haiku has said, our Discord is a wholesome place that is doing our best to embody that and mirror that so that we can hopefully create that space. But with that, let's get into Epic Games.
All right, Epic Games has accused Apple of creating roadblocks for launching its game store in Europe. Epic referred Apple to the European Commission after Apple twice rejected the notarization of Epic's game store. Epic claims Apple's actions violate the Digital Markets Act and are arbitrary and obstructive. This conflict continues the company's long-standing feud, impacting Epic's ability to expand its market presence in the EU. Epic remains committed to launching its store and Fortnite on iOS in Europe despite these challenges. They just can never play nice.
I had to check the timestamp. I had to be like, is this article from years ago? Are we still talking about this?
Well, I think honestly, Epic's happy if we're talking about it, to be honest.
Yeah, well, they've won this so many times. I feel like Apple just keeps losing to the EU, and they are not like, they're trying to bring in very much their own ethos into things, and the EU is like, yep, nope, we're stopping it. And you're going to have USB-C now, and you're going to have this, and you better open things up, and we've got this act, and we've got this thing. Like, it is continually stomping all over Apple's parade, and Epic just continues to gloat in the glory of winning. But I legit had to check it.
So I like Apple. Like, I mean, I have an iPhone. I used to be fully in the Apple ecosystem, iOS. I'm sort of veering away from that now. So I'm not anti-Apple when I say this, but I'm with who just said it. Tina Christine. Yeah, like anybody who can put Apple in their place, I think that's good. I think if a whole basically set of countries can make them adhere to their standard, I think that's a good thing, because when corporations have unfettered control over how they operate, then they have no reason to stop. And so I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that.
Yeah. It's interesting to see it just continue to happen. And I'll be interested to see how this sets a precedent for the rest of us. It just continues to be like, yep, Epic wins and Apple loses. Please let them onto your platform. Please let them on the platform. Please. Like, it's just over and over and over. We'll see the same article next year and the year after and the year after and the year after, or so it feels. So, we'll see if this time makes any bit of a difference, but I am not holding my breath. For another thing that we've heard so much about over the past 2 years, we got another merger. Skydance Media is set to acquire Paramount Global in an $8 billion merger. This agreement follows extensive negotiations and will see Skydance, backed by Redbird Capital and KKR, taking a significant stake in Paramount. As part of the deal, Sherry Redstone's National Amusements will receive $2 billion. This merger aims to keep Paramount as an independent entity and is seen as a strategic move to bolster both companies' futures. The deal awaits final approval from controlling shareholder Sherry Redstone. Good day to be Sherry, that's for sure. That's a big win for them, as that $2 billion, 1/4 of this deal going towards the National Amusements under her care. So we see more and more of this. Hopefully we don't see impending layoffs that come along with it. I continue to think of just the massive amounts of money being exchanged in the entertainment industry. If anything, I'm kind of glad that this one is at least seeing independent entities trying to stay afloat. Like, we're trying to at least keep Paramount instead of just another buyout. But Yeah, $8 billion. $8 billion. There's so many billions.
Mark my words, we will have Skydance Plus here in not too long. I don't care what they say.
Yeah, it's curious to see. You know, whenever I think of like Skydance, I don't really know any of their things. Like they definitely have movies, but they're not movies that I'm necessarily into or watching. I feel like they've done a lot of flops. They've done a lot of sequels. They've done a lot of spin-offs and things like that. But then again, whenever I think of Paramount, I think of the old movies. I think about their old stuff that I grew up watching with that logo. And then I think about Halo. And that's like it. That's what I think about when I think about Paramount Plus. And it will be interesting to see any fallout from this one. I have a feeling it won't have any trouble getting approved. It's not really a monopoly situation. There's not really any need for the FCC to get involved. And so it's just going to be more of the same. Hopefully we won't end up seeing that Skydance Plus and that Paramount will be able to keep itself afloat. But who could say? Into our next one. This one was, I couldn't believe it. My jaw dropped.
Microsoft has introduced spell check and autocorrect features to Notepad in Windows 11. The new update, currently available to Windows insiders, highlights misspelled words and offers corrections, while autocorrect seamlessly fixes common typing errors. Users can manage these settings globally for specific file types within the app. This enhancement aims to modernize the classic text editor, making it more user-friendly without affecting its simplicity. I honestly I could not have told you that it did not have spell check. Honestly.
I couldn't have told you. And I love that it's set aside for Windows insiders. Roll it out to everybody.
Right. Yeah. You know, like,
it's spell check.
It's spell check and it's Notepad. I mean, who's still using Notepad?
I guarantee you everybody that uses Notepad is probably a Windows insider, because if you're that bought into the Windows ecosystem, I mean, surely you're in there. Yeah, it's for that one guy. That one guy has been sending us letters handwritten in the mail.
Clippy does appear. Clippy's like, hey, let me give you some suggestions.
I couldn't believe it. I genuinely could not believe whenever I saw it. First off, that this hasn't been a thing, that this is a new thing, and that then they're doing a slow rollout of literally like the most basic of features in current text editing.
Seeing that makes me think, like, my wife just went to the store the other day and it says, we accept cash and checks. And I was like, who does what now? How are you still in business? Right? I saw that and I thought the same thing, like, this wasn't like, you're not beyond this already.
Right. It's bizarre, but with that, we're going to go into the actual future. So they think they might be the future there with Microsoft, but we have the gas station of the future that everybody loves, 7-Eleven. If you didn't know, 7-Eleven is now owned by Japanese company 7 & I Holdings, and it is introducing Japanese snacks to its U.S. locations. The new offerings include ramen, rice balls, and milk tea, providing a fresh alternative to typical gas station fare like hot dogs and cigarettes. This move responds to declining sales of traditional convenience store items and aims to attract customers with a more diverse food selection. This shift reflects the rich variety of food available at 7-Eleven stores in Japan, promising a significant upgrade for U.S. stores. Love this. Love all of this. You guys know that I love my weeb stuff. I love my Japanese snacks. And I think that the opportunity to have a more fun gas station, why not? Sure. I love a good road trip. I love a good time at a gas station. I enjoy the like Circle K is really coming up randomly in our areas. And then we always have had like the nice sheets. I don't even know if any of these words mean anything to most people listening to this, but the bougie
we have both of those in my area
of the gas stations. So they're fun.
They better just not mess around with my Slurpees. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Oh, I don't think they do. I think if I recall correctly, they even like work into the Slurpees more options and more things in Japan. I personally love the travel channel like TikToks where they'll go to the gas station and they'll get like these special little drinks where there's like a freezer and a cup with these balls of ice down in it. And then you go and get all of the like pieces for that. And then you buy them all together and you poke it with like a boba straw and make your drink together. It looks so much fun. So I love it. I love to see it, and I am excited to find out when this is actually happening. And I sure hope that it comes to all locations and not just like 7 or something, because I want them all over the place. Yeah, Buc-ee's is another good one. I do love a good Buc-ee's. That one is truly an experience. I don't think that 7-Eleven will be able to compare to their brisket, but they might try. Good stuff. All right. Well, any other thoughts on this one before we move into everybody's favorite part of the show?
No, it's hilarious, but I hope it works out.
I hope it works out as well. I look forward to getting to try some of those snacks, those jelly donuts, as Brock would call them. Maybe we'll get some of that goodness. With that, we're going to get into everybody's favorite part of the show. Cryptic Critiques. That's right, it's time for everyone's favorite game, Cryptic Critiques. This is the game show of bad reviews for beloved games. I've scoured the internet to find 3 of the funniest bad reviews I could for popular video games, and I will deliver them one at a time to our special guest of the week. Play along with us, see if you can figure it out before clue number 3, but if you're watching live, do not send your guesses until the guest gets the chance to give their final choice at the end of the 3rd prompt. Just let us know when you get the answer, but don't send it in and give away any of the fun. All right, are you ready? Do you remember how the game works? You feel good? Are you prepared?
Unless you tailored this specific for me, I'm going to fail. Just FYI, but
I always try to. I always try to at least make sure that people have heard
I'm going out on a limb and saying it's Final Fantasy X right now. Final Fantasy, that's it. That's the answer.
I think that was the last one, because I remember doing the laugh. And so if it wasn't that, if I didn't do it for you, who would I have done it for?
Right, exactly.
It had to have been you for FFX.
All right. Well, we'll see. We'll see.
All right, first prompt. Prompt number 1. These are real-life bad reviews for very popular video games. I hated this, man. I played with my wife, and we found every character in it so incredibly annoying that we just didn't even care if they improved their lives.
The Sims.
The Sims? That's a great guess. That is a great guess. Absolutely hated this. Absolutely hated this. Next up, second prompt is... This game majorly overstays its welcome by repeating the mechanics at the beginning over and over, which ironically is the message it's wrestling with narratively.
Oh man, I don't know. No, that doesn't help me at all.
All right. I do love that. I do love that. All right. Prompt number 3 didn't, in fact, save my marriage. I don't know if that gave it away, but it should have.
Wait. It Takes Two.
It is indeed. It Takes Two.
Yes.
Chats in the clap. Oh, we love it. We love to see it.
Cause of divorce in the most current generation. Absolutely.
Yeah, I tried to find one that was about the elephant, but they were all like, it was too obvious. It was going to give it away.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
But a lot of people did not like that.
That last one definitely helped me. The second one, yes, I get that. And as I was thinking, is that the answer? I was like, oh yeah, that's actually a pretty spot on review of that game. But I loved that game. It was so much fun.
Yeah, it was game of the year. Let's not forget. I mean, it was GOTY, which is still pretty bonkers to me. It's a great game. I don't know if it's an exceptional game, but it's a great game.
It was fun playing with my son because that was the first game we played like together and went through. I think it might have actually driven my wife and I apart. I'm not gonna lie. I don't think we have the patience for each other's gaming habits anymore.
Yeah, it's definitely one that's like a make or break situation. You're going to learn if you've got a good gaming partner or not. I did not even try to play this one with Logan because never going to happen. Like she would have lost it right away. One time, I would have to beat her one time at a mini game. We'd be done. She'd be like, all right, I don't want to play this game anymore. So
the mini games wouldn't have even been the problem for me. The problem for me would have been my wife is very methodical and she would have wanted to figure out the puzzle ahead of time. And I've been like, let's just go hit stuff. Let's figure it out. We're fine. That's why we stopped playing World of Warcraft together, because I would just be going, let's go next quest. And she's like, I need to know what we're doing. And it would just, so that would not have worked.
That's great. Well, do let us know in the chat if you got it in time. Did you get it by prompt number 3? I still think The Sims is a hilarious guess for the first one. I hated all these characters. I don't care if they improve their lives. It's so fun. That was actually a very recurring sentiment, by the way. People did not like the characters of It Takes Two. And they were like, they deserve to be divorced, was a big major sentiment of like, these are bad people and they should feel bad.
They didn't really do a lot to endear you to them. I didn't care if they got back together. It was mostly like for the kid, you know? Right. But even then, I wonder how much damage they're going to do to that child with a bad relationship.
Yep. Yep, 100%. That was the recurring sentiment. So good stuff. Good stuff. Love that. And love how quickly you got it right after. I think you got FFXSL with the ha ha ha. So you're
Yeah.
you're 2 for 2 in Cryptic Critiques. You got that perfect.
Let's
record.
go. Excellent.
Very nice. All right, next up, we're going to go into our next segment of the show. Right, it is time for To the Discord. This is news that was submitted for you by you. This is members of our Discord server who submit news every Monday whenever I ask for it over in our Twitch stream section of our Discord server. So if you would like to submit news, just be sure to drop it over in that section. I go through it and try to pick out 3 that are the most interesting there, or at least worth mentioning during this segment. So I'll start these off this time. And the first one is from Twyla. Twyla says, Daybreak has acquired Palia developer Singularity 6, despite the latter's financial struggles and recent layoffs. Known for EverQuest and PlanetSide 2, Daybreak is excited to bring Singularity 6 into their family. Palia launched in open beta last year, has over 4 million players, but faced challenges leading to layoffs in April and May 2024. Singularity 6 CEO Anthony Lung believes partnering with Daybreak will help expand Palia's reach and benefit from Daybreak's expertise in building enduring gaming communities. I enjoyed Palia. I fell off Palia pretty quick, but I do think it was a great game, and what they built was very impressive, and I'd love to see it sustain. I would love to see an MMO farming sim live on. Why not? And I think that if anybody could do it, it would be the EverQuest devs. Sure, why not? It makes sense to me. Everything adds up. I just hope we don't see more layoffs. But in all fairness, we've already seen layoffs, so it's like how much more can we do other than shutter the doors of Palia altogether?
Yeah, I don't know. EverQuest was my jam. Like, that was my first MMO before I got sucked into WoW. And yeah, I think if anybody could do it, they can. Because I mean, like, EverQuest, the original, is still, to my knowledge, is still putting out expansions. Like, that game it's terrible. Like, it's looks bad. It plays hard. It's just like but there's a community. So if they have the ability to find out what the community wants and just keep reproducing that, and they'll get their loyal fans, they'll keep the people. So I don't know about layoffs, but I think it probably bodes well for that game.
I hope so. I'd like to see Palia get a full like boost in another like expansion or something that gets people back into it. Because like I said, I enjoyed my experience with it. I don't have time for a nonstop MMO. I don't have time for a game that I just keep playing. Maybe we could do that on like a stream where I just have a game that I play forever and ever, but that's just so not my gaming style. And so, yeah. And I feel like most people that do, they probably have their one. Like, I don't think many people that play MMOs or play those like games of service games hop back and forth. They pick the one they're going to play and they stick with it. And I think the looter shooters probably win out over the MMOs most times. And in the MMO world, most of them fall into the same old World of Warcraft kind of strongholds. So, yeah.
Yep.
Curious stuff. Next up.
All right. Next up from Twyla and Perry, Nintendo has decided to avoid using generative AI in its development processes, citing business logic rather than a rejection of new technology. While generative AI has the potential to enhance productivity, it also raises concerns about the sustainability of creative professions. Nintendo believes valuable IP cannot be created by outsourcing significant parts of the creative process to algorithms. Additionally, there are legal uncertainties regarding copyright and IP created with generative AI. Nintendo's stance reflects a cautious approach to maintaining its long-term value and creative integrity, even at the risk of short-term gains. I think that's right up Nintendo's alley. They've always been about their thing and maintaining their vision, even if it's a step behind what the cutting edge thing is, right? But they always also have amazing stuff. Right? Nintendo is going to be forever because they know their people, and they know how to create good quality things.
Yeah. And they're always well polished. Like the Nintendo polish, the Nintendo eye, like, Nintendo IP when you see Nintendo IP. I even think of like my least favorite Nintendo IP is Splatoon. It's not that I dislike Splatoon. I just have no connection with it whatsoever. But if I see an inkling, I know that's Nintendo. Like you can just tell, oh, the polish, the care, the attention to detail, the character models, like everything about it is so Nintendo that it just reeks. And so like there is something about this that I think is very true. Like as somebody that does occasionally tamper into the generative AI field and experiment with it, it can't create the polish that is expected here. And I think about that a lot with a lot of the different, like there are other gaming franchises that do this as well. I don't think anybody can recreate the Persona art style. I feel like Atlas has got that nailed down to a T. You're not going to be recreating that. But if I go and try and generate some kind of, and no offense here, this might be something I shouldn't say, but if you're going to go try and generate some kind of gorgeous portmanteau of a Elden Ring world, then I think you could probably do it. I think you could probably manage that one because love Elden Ring, love FromSoft, love what they do, but their attention to detail is not the same as Nintendo. They care way more about mechanics. They want you to experience a fantastic game, but the art, they all kind of look the same and they could be recreated. But Nintendo, you can't recreate what Nintendo does. You can't just add that level of polish via artificial intelligence. So yeah, I think it adds up. I think it's a smart move. I think it's the right move. And I think not only does it kind of get thumbs ups from the anti-AI people, but yeah, it also ends up being all around like this just makes sense for Nintendo. And yeah, as Aaron said, Pokemon, I mean, you could even look at Pal World. I enjoyed Pal World's world, but could I even draw you one pal? I could not draw you one pal, but I could probably get close to hundreds of Pocket Memes. So
Trombone's comment, the Global Methodist Church recreated the Elden Ring logo. That's true. It is so similar. It's scary.
It's definitely similar. It definitely has those same vibes. So yeah.
And I mean, I could make all the comments about what that might mean, but I won't. We'll move on.
Yes, all the wiser indeed. But yeah, this is a good one. I'm proud of Nintendo for doing this. And yeah, all around good stuff for them. With that, we're going to get into a opposite end of the spectrum, not so much beloved here. This is another one submitted by Twyla. Rockstar Games has sparked controversy by introducing a paywall for a new quality of life feature in GTA Online. The new Vinewood Club app, which allows players to collect money from their businesses, request vehicles, and restock ammo from their in-game phone, is only available to those who pay £6.99 or $7.99 per month for GTA Plus. Fans are outraged, arguing that this feature should be free as it addresses a long-standing inconvenience. Critics fear this move hints at heavy monetization in the upcoming Grand Theft Auto 6, due in 2025, potentially locking desirable features behind paywalls. I would not be surprised if GTA 6 does have some pretty high paywalls. I think that that's somewhat likely. I don't think we need to be too afraid of it because I do think that, I mean, I don't recall Red Dead Redemption 2 being that insane. I know it did have some, but I don't think it was that bad. It makes more sense for Red Dead Online and for GTA Online to have these microtransactions. So I don't think we need to be too afraid of GTA 6. However, I do think this is ridiculous. I think that a game that is as popular as GTA and a community that is as loyal as the GTA Online people, just give them the app. There's no reason to charge them for the app. I think there's no reason why this shouldn't be available to everyone for free.
Yeah, I agree. Just give them the app. I also don't think I don't really see like GTA 6 being hampered too much in that way because it does make more sense. As a person who does play MMOs and online games, it makes sense to have a monetization, like to monetize it to death, basically. A lot of them do that now. I don't think it's great, so don't hear me saying that they should be doing that, but it just doesn't I'm not surprised, but I also agree they should give it, that just reminds me of another conversation I was having today. So not specifically related to this, but like how beloved IPs that have not done these kinds of things in the past are like moving that way, talking like, and I don't know if we already talked about it last week or recently or whatever, but with the new changes, the updates to Dungeons and Dragons, 5e, and how they're moving a lot of that online, and we're one step away from a submodel there that is like you have to have this submodel in order to get all of this content, and I know a lot of people are upset about that. I'm not surprised. It was just a matter of time before the company could figure out a way to do that, right? But I think everything, and somebody who was it, I think it was Derek White said, everything seems to be moving toward this kind of a model, and just bleeding people for as much. Somebody else in the chat said, about the streaming services, like we can't have them all. We can't afford all of them. And I think that's just where we are. So we're at a point now where we really have to pick and choose the things that we want, because everything is trying to bleed you dry.
I think about a lot is
I did not say that, Combo. I did not say that.
I think about a lot the library in relation to this issue of I feel like we need to lean in harder than we ever have before to that phenomenal service that is the library. Like, if we could imagine getting our streaming services, imagine getting our games, imagine getting our entertainment and our connection with the outside world, whether it be internet or whether it be whatever, through that service, like, this is the time that we need to lean into that and say, hey, you're all trying to make money like this. We're just going to use the library instead. So you can't just nickel and dime us, and you need to figure it out while we successfully make things work.
Yes, I 100% agree. I do utilize the library as much as I can, but I literally thought when you were talking about library, my initial thought was like the games library or the movie library. Like, we got to figure out which library we want, like what is, right? That's what I thought. So no, I'm glad that you went the other route. The
public library.
The actual library. Yes. Yeah, got you.
Yeah, not your Steam library or your pile of shame.
Right.
But instead, how can we better utilize that? We've talked about that for a long time at Checkpoint, about how we can serve as a sort of games library for people, lending library. And I just think that is going to be an inevitable breaking point, is like, we're going to see that happen. And I tell you, who's getting jobs at the library? It's nerds. It's us. Nerds. It's our people. Right. It's the gamers, and it's the folks that are like building Legos and having Lego competitions. And so that is the future of the library, I think, is it's going to be a nerd haven. And if we can support it and lean into it and to lift it up, then that's going to be all the better for the social connections that we are doing. So
agreed.
Yes. Love to see it. Love to hear it. Unfortunately, I do think that's just a antecedent of Rockstar. I don't think Rockstar is actually really the bad guy in this situation. I do think they should just give it, but they're just trying to make money. They're trying to survive. More of the system of like, this is what everybody else is doing, so this is what we need to do. And it's just disappointing, but it's not necessarily their fault. It's more of a fault of the whole market that they're a part of. And I wish they could be rebels. They definitely could afford to be rebels as the mile marker that they are for the video game industry, but they chose not to be, and that's disappointing, but it's hard to hold it against them in the world that we're living in. So time will tell if they actually get pushed back on at all, but odds are, considering that it is Rockstar, they're not going to hear any feedback. They're just going to kind of do what they're going to do, and they're going to make the choices they're going to make, and odds are they're going to be just fine, because they're pretty rock solid, which is not a pun, but the Rockstar is definitely there. All right, with that, we're going to get into our next somewhat disappointing segment of the show.
At this point in nerd history.
So this is normally my favorite part of the show. This is at this point in nerd history where we talk about all the things that came out on this day throughout time and space, July 9th, but ain't nobody making nothing on July 9th. I couldn't find anything notable.
Vortex of July 9th.
If you go to Nintendo's website, they have a today in history, and literally you can scroll through dozens. You can scroll through as many days as you want. I'm sure there are others that are like this, but most of the time there's at least one game or they pull something out of their hat that you've never even heard of. It'll be like not even Excite Bike, but it'll be like a random Excite RV that came out for the Wii U or whatever. There'll be one game that came out that they'll pull out of somewhere. They literally wrote down on their website, nothing notable happened today, which I thought was such a great way of putting it. It was just nothing notable released. So apparently if Donkey Kong released today, then Nintendo didn't know it. So I'm guessing it's probably one of those, where it's it released in the UK later or something along those lines, but nothing released on July 9th, according to the website at the very least. But we did get some movies. It is box office movie month. And so we did get some of the summer flicks. Although one of them, I think I recall, was one of the first movies that really came back to theaters and was one of the dual drops that dropped on Disney as well, maybe. Or maybe it was a month later. But I never saw it back in 2021. Black Widow. I still actually haven't seen it. I probably should, but never did end up seeing that Marvel movie. back in 2010, which actually feels like it was longer ago than this one. But Despicable Me entered into the scene on this day in 2010 and changed memes posted by middle-aged white women forever. In 2004, Anchorman, The Legend of Ron Burgundy. I don't remember what the aftercolon is of this one, but a classic, well-quoted Will Ferrell movie released on 2004 on this date and time. And then back in 2003, Pirates of the Caribbean, Curse of the Black Pearl, released on this day. So there's 4 movies. I thought those were pretty big deal movies to have released. Pretty good summer blockbusters. I would have seen 3 of those. And then, of course, as I mentioned, I didn't see Black Widow. So what are your thoughts on these, Shane?
Yeah, I have not seen Despicable Me or Anchorman, but did see Black Widow. It's fine. Curse of Black Pearl, though, I probably have seen that movie like 15 times. Absolutely. I love the Pirates series. I love the music. I think my wife and I actually went and saw that at the theater a couple of times because, we're watching through the series with our kids. They dig it and they love the music, so it's good. I like that.
Yeah, I played the Pirates theme in my last year of band, I'm pretty sure. I played it on the trumpet.
Just full disclosure, I despise Will Ferrell.
Oh, well, that'll do it. If you don't like Will Ferrell, you're not going to like Anchorman because it is him.
I know, right?
Yeah. But there are some good side characters in that one. I think that's Paul Rudd does a lot of good stuff in that one. Steve Carell does a lot of good stuff in that one. So the side Anchormen are funny. But yeah, if you don't like Will Ferrell, you're probably not going to dig it.
Yeah,
that would be like going to see a Sandler movie and you don't like Adam Sandler.
Oh yeah, no, like you have to like their particular brand of comedy, or else it's just not for you. And that for me, I've never been. I think my favorite Will Ferrell character is the dad from Lego Movie.
It was a good role. He did play that role well.
He played a great role.
I like Will Ferrell. I wouldn't say that I love Will Ferrell. I do think that there are some comedies that I really enjoy him in, but I love his serious roles. I think it wasn't Stranger Than Fiction. Isn't that his the one where he's an author? That one, maybe.
I could probably get into his serious stuff. I could probably do that.
I enjoy his serious work, and I do enjoy his
basically like. Yeah, but his name is like a repellent to me. If I see it on there, I'm like, nope, I'm not even interested.
Well, there you go. I am also a Sandler fan. I'm a little bit of column A, a little column B. I like all the stupid comedy. It's some of my favorite stuff, and I definitely grew up with it. I have very fond memories. My dad likes that humor, which I guess is just the irony of being a pastor, right? Is that we have that like secret second life where we get to like the raunchy, ridiculous humor, and so
yeah, I like
a lot of that.
I like Sandler too, which is weird because I think Sandler's probably dumber than Will Ferrell. You know what I mean? Like, but I don't know. Yeah.
Yep. It's good stuff. So yeah, there's the 4 movies. I can't believe that we didn't have more, but for some reason that is all that came out on this day in history. So a bit of a disappointing at this point in nerd history today, but you can't win them all. But with that, we're going to get into our next and penultimate segment of the show. All right, upcoming releases. My guest and I have picked out 3 things that are coming out in roughly the next week or so. Mine, I try to stick to a week, but sometimes since our guests go for a week on end, we just saw. Oh man,
I just love the ones. Listen,
oh boy,
I'm the worst with these. Like I can't do this week. I have to I don't.
No,
so every time
I'm laughing at the fact that I just copy and pasted from IGN without proofreading, so I can't read that description of Angerfoot. But we're gonna read something else for mine this time because
I can read it for you.
No,
if you feel if you're feeling bad, like I
gotta change
our
our family friendly tag if that's the case.
Angerfoot is something. It's adult.
It's definitely something. All right. It's definitely a game that I'm excited for. So I can start. We've picked 3 things that we're excited for. We're going to go back and forth telling you a little bit about them. We used to go through literally everything that released in the next week, and that took too long and nobody paid attention. So instead, we just talked about things that we're particularly looking forward to. My first one, as I just alluded to, is an indie game called Angerfoot. Maybe you've seen it, maybe you played a demo of it before, but it is essentially the part of the game where you're like entering into a room and your character kicks down a door, right? That's it though. That's the whole game. That's what you're doing is you're just a foot and you're kicking doors down, kicking people, pushing people back by kicking. It is absurd. It is tongue in cheek. It is Duke Nukem. It is low poly. It's absolutely absurd. And it is also filled with wordy dirds. Hence the reason that I can't read the actual.
It's definitely crappy. It is definitely crappy. Yeah.
Really good stuff. So I'm looking forward to that one. If you are of the age that you can play rated M games, then that's going to be one that should be a pretty ridiculous time. All right, let's hear one of yours.
All right. Yeah. So Madden 25 is coming up soon. I look forward to the new Madden the last few years because I have a couple friends who play, and I like to hate myself because I suck at Madden. So it's one of those things that I really just do. Football's my favorite sport. I love American football, and this lets me play for a little bit, and then remember that I just don't like the person I am when I play these games. So.
Well, I hate that you mentioned football because I was going to be a smart aleck and say, now what is this game about? But
what is this game about? Yeah, it's about releasing the same game over and over again in deteriorating methods since 2005.
Exactly, with just numbers going up each and every year.
Mm-hmm.
My second one is going to be something that's actually not for me, but it is for you. If you haven't played either of these games before, I happen to notice on the Game Pass release that's coming out in the next couple weeks or so, two of my favorite indie games are going to be coming out, and you can enjoy them now if you are a Game Pass subscriber. So I'm not going to say for free because Game Pass, of course, costs money, but if you are already a subscriber, it's practically for free. Two indie games, The Case of the Golden Idol, if you like mysteries, if you like point and click, if you miss those old school Sierra type games, but maybe even a little bit more low poly than Sierra games, Case of the Golden Idol is going to be for you. Really good mystery, really good puzzle solving. It really warps your brain, makes you think in all the right ways. So check that one out. And then the other one is Neon White. If you didn't play Neon White, or if you weren't a part of Checkpoint whenever we were playing Neon White, that is an absolute blast of a game that is kind of hard to explain, but basically you're trying to get from point A to point B as quickly as possible. So it's sort of a parkour game, only you use cards that you pick up that have guns on them that allow you to do different sorts of moves, such as like dash forward or double jump or what have you. So really interesting game, really interesting art style, and very much worth your time. So there's two fantastic indies that I would recommend to just about anybody, especially if you're a fan of either of those genre. All right, on to your next one.
Yeah, so my next one is, and I know you will not be surprised here, Deadpool and Wolverine movie. I'm very much looking forward to that. Deadpool is my favorite like superhero movies. I mean, and I'm sure you know me well enough to know why. I love Deadpool, and I have a couple of Deadpool shirts. I just dig it. And so one of my friends sent me the long trailer of it when it first came out, and he and I have seen every one of these together, and we don't do anything else like all year. So this is our thing, and so I'm really looking forward to it. And plus, it just looks like it'll be a fun time. So
yeah, I'm excited for it. I'm excited for the opportunity to get to see it, and I hope that it has some saving glory so that I can turn it into a nerdy sermon, because it's going to be all the hype. So we'll see if it has anything that I can work with. Something that I know I won't be able to work with is my third one, which is Long Legs, a new horror movie. FBI agent Lee Harker is a gifted new recruit assigned to the unsolved case of the elusive serial killer who is Nicolas Cage. I would encourage you to go watch the trailer if you can stomach horror movies and see if you can spot Nicolas Cage, because holy smokes, they put him under so much makeup, and it is really looking pretty spooky. So if you like the scary stories, if you like the weird movies, I can't promise it's going to be good, but I do love a good serial killer flick, and it looks like it's trying to be definitely nowhere along the lines of Hannibal, but trying to make what if Hannibal was also unhinged, like beyond just the Hannibal elements? What if he was also absolutely Nick Cage levels of lunacy? That's what this one's probably going to be. Don't know why it's called Long Legs. I thought Spider. Haven't seen a Spider yet, so go figure why it's called Long Legs. I'm sure we'll find out whenever I actually get to see it.
It's going to steal the Declaration of Independence. That's all I know.
All right, on to your final one.
Yeah, so my final one, again, not a surprise, I'm sure. The next World of Warcraft expansion, The War Within, comes out in a little over a month. And to say that I'm anticipating this is an understatement. It's an expansion that starts off I think a 3 expansion arc for storytelling. And wow, Warcraft Blizzard has done a great job, in my opinion, telling stories over the years. Everyone hasn't been a grand slam, but I always love the lore. I always say if I knew as much about real history as I do a Warcraft history, I could be, I could parlay that into something. But it's coming out here and I'm looking forward to it. I will pre-order it. I will play early. I might even pre-order it this next pay so that I can play the beta right now. That's just how much I love that game. I've been playing since launch, and so I'm looking forward to that.
Awesome. Very good. Well, I saw Sugar also dropped in the chat 3 things that she's looking forward to. The NES Nintendo World Championship is dropping, the new Dimpaman, and of course, Deadpool vs. Wolverine as well. Lots of good stuff. Hopefully you're looking forward to some things. It is box office season, so hopefully you're going to see some good movies in the next couple weeks, folks. But with that, we're going to move into our final segment of the show. Meme of the week. That's right. It's time for our meme of the week. This one, appropriately, as we are both pastors here, is from Sugar Haiku. It is a tweet. Can priests bless stuff other than water? I just think holy guacamole should mean something, which is great. Good goof, all the fun there. Love to see that one. That one did get the most reactions. If you would like to be considered for our meme of the week, be sure to use our memes and goofs section over on our Discord servers that you can be considered for the meme of the week. Typically, I choose the one that gets the most reactions, and this week it was Sugar Haiku. Loved this one. Very fun. I did appreciate, of course, Maybe 30 Bats, who is also a pastor that is very much interested in this kind of element of the more high church Jesuit-y style priestliness. And so I appreciated his answer and response of sort of, yeah, like, why not?
Yeah,
we can.
Like, we bless pets all the time, right?
Right.
Like, we do that. So, like, why not?
Yeah. Very fun, very good stuff. And I do appreciate the joke of the holy guacamole. Always a good time. With that, we're going to get into the end of our show. So as we wrap up, I'm going to give our guest a chance to do a shout out. Let us know, where can people find you, and what can we know about you before we say goodbye to you for this one?
Yeah, well, you can find Go Be Church, me and Go Be Church, on YouTube, TikTok, all the places, basically. I would say if you're looking, though, go to YouTube. That's where we have all of our videos as well, and our shorts and our long form. And then if you are a Facebook user, which, cringe, whatever, but if you are a Facebook user, our community hub is over there at Go Be Church Talk, for all 4 separate words, Go Be Church Talk. And we're a little over 300 members there strong now, and it's just continuing to grow and become more and more active. So those are the main places: TikTok, YouTube, Facebook.
I know you don't often stream. Sometimes you multi-stream over onto Go Be Church. We've given you a shout out twice there with Trombone as well. So be sure to go and follow, and hopefully Linktree or something is over in those links over on Twitch so they can find the rest of the good stuff there for folks that are interested and curious.
Yeah, I think it is.
Awesome. Good stuff. Well, thank you for joining us. Thanks everybody for being a part of the show tonight, for your chats and for your comments and all that good stuff. This has been Twig, your weekly, geekly, family-friendly news show delivered live on twitch.tv/checkpointchurch each and every week, keeping your family connected to the world of nerdy news. If you watched this far, hey, you likely enjoyed this one. Remember to give us a 5-star on your favorite podcasting app. Click that like button or recommend the show to all of your favorite nerds. Before we go, of course, we appreciate everyone that watches, all of our viewers, all of our followers, all of those sorts of things. We want to give a special shout out to those that also subscribe to our channel, that pay to subscribe here on Twitch. So thank you to DGC 121996, Elias Raven, Wesley Lemur, Coyote 42, Trombone Dalek, Fool Killer 29, Xando Calrissian, Sneaky Pig 633, Deacon Shannon LS, Twilight 27, Jake Live, Go Be Church, Hakeem 4752, Ed Dude 3452, Bui Sugar Haiku, Mindful Marlena, H-Man 1009, Tina Christina P, Perspective Exo Gabby, Maybe 30 Bats, and Nerd Pastor Nate. Thank you again to everyone, and especially thank you to those that are helping us financially to survive as a ministry and to be effective in the world of nerds, geeks, and gamers. Is there going to be Twig next week? Yes, there should be Twig next week. It will be the finale for a couple of weeks, as I am going off to England for 9 days. So I'll be gone for a little bit, so we won't be able to do Twig for a couple weeks. And whenever we come back, we're actually going to have a whole new schedule. So we'll talk more about that, but Twitch schedule changing, Discord schedule changing, everything is changing a little bit, shifting here and there. Twig should still be on Tuesday nights, but there may not be a hangout anymore. We may be moving that to another night. So We'll talk about all those sorts of things when we get to them. But again, I want to thank you for being here. We're going to wrap this one up with our 3 things that would be true about every single one of you out there. Whether you believe in God, don't believe in God, go to church, don't go to church, hate God or hate church, we still believe these 3 things to be true about each and every one of you. Number 1, that God loves you, like really, really loves you. Number 2, we love you. We want community with you. That's what we're doing here. And number 3, that you, yes, you matter. You're a person of sacred worth. The world's a better place. Why? Because you are in it. Folks, with that, until the next time that I see you, whether it be right after I finish doing this spiel, or whether it be over on our Discord, or same time, same place next week for another episode of Twig, I look forward to seeing you then. Bye-bye!